ancient Mesopotamia to modern trust. Have you ever stopped to think that the pieces of paper in your pocket are far more than just tools of exchange? How did something so simple become so valuable? Think about it. Today, we don't even carry money in our pockets anymore. With just 2 taps on a screen, we can send it across the world in seconds. But the foundation of this system, this effortless trust, was laid thousands of years ago in the clay lands of ancient Mesopotamia. And it all began with one thing: trust. Throughout history, humans have struggled to trust one another, and yet, trade was essential for survival. So people needed someone or something to keep their wealth safe. And that's where the first bankers came in. They weren't bankers in the modern sense, but in their time, they served the same purpose. In Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, the people stored their goods inside temples. These temples were sacred places dedicated to the gods, but in practice, they acted like the world's first safes. Priests guarded the goods, recorded every deposit, and even lent some out. The earliest form of banking was born in a temple ledger. Back then, debt, interest, and collateral were not economic terms. They were divine ones. Charging interest wasn't considered sinful. It was seen as sharing in the gods' abundance. Of course, that idea would evolve for centuries to come. Then, in the Greek city-states and the Roman Empire, new instruments appeared: promissory notes, letters of credit, the early form of what we now call credit. But one problem still remained: who could be trusted to manage all this? As trade routes expanded and currencies multiplied, a new age began. By the 14th century, Italian cities, especially Florence, had become the beating heart of European commerce. There, merchants, artists, and bankers lived side by side. The golden florin became Europe's most stable currency. But there was a problem. Merchants traveling from Florence to London had to carry their gold with them, across seas, borders, and wars, thieves, storms, bandits. It was a dangerous journey. Who would risk everything for a bag of coins? That's when the first system of money transfer was born. Of course, it wasn't digital or instant like today. A merchant would deposit his gold with a banker in Florence, and his partner in London could withdraw the same amount, using only a piece of paper. That paper became as valuable as gold itself, because everyone trusted it. And behind that trust stood one name: Medici. In 1397, Giovanni di Bicci de' Medici founded a small bank in Florence. His goal was simple: to keep merchants' money safe and make trade easier. But Giovanni wasn't just counting coins. He was building a system. He standardized accounting, recorded debts and profits, and created a fair way to share gains. In doing so, he laid the groundwork for what we now call accounting. And for the first time, trust didn't depend on a person. It depended on a system. People began to believe not in individuals, but in institutions. The Medici Bank soon spread across Europe. Rome, Venice, London, Genoa. Their reputation was so strong that even the Vatican opened its doors to them. At that time, the Catholic Church forbade charging interest. The Bible saw earning money from money as a sin. But reality didn't care about doctrine. Even the Pope needed to borrow. So the Medici family found a clever solution. They didn't call it interest. They called it a service fee. And part of their profit went back to the church as a donation. In the end, sin was forgiven through generosity. Smart, wasn't it? That strategy gave the Medici not just wealth, but power. Because when you lend money to rulers and popes, you don't just control fortunes, you shape history. Cosimo de' Medici, Giovanni's son, expanded his father's system. He wasn't merely a banker, he was a visionary. He used money not just to gain wealth, but to reshape Florence itself, its architecture, its art, its culture. The Renaissance, that explosion of creativity and genius, was, in part, funded by a banker. Cosimo's grandson, Lorenzo the Magnificent, supported Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Botticelli. The Medici didn't just count money, they built a civilization with it. But no empire lasts forever. As their fortune grew, so did their risks. Branches were mismanaged, partners grew greedy, and the people of Florence began to see the family as too powerful. In 1494, the Medici were exiled. Their banks collapsed, their vaults emptied. Yet the system they built survived, because ideas outlast gold. The Medici Bank pioneered double-entry bookkeeping, international finance, and the modern concept of credit. Every time you log into your bank account today, you're using the descendants of their inventions. The Medici were more than wealthy. They had a mindset that changed the world. They saw money not as the end, but as the means. A tool to build trust, shape systems, and record humanity's economic memory. The story of banking is the story of us, of ambition, fear, trust, and power, all written in the same ledger. And that ledger, opened centuries ago in Florence, still tells our story today. With the Medici. See you in new stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe.